Quarter Shop Flosstube on Wednesday, May 15th. I'm pre-recording this because today I'm on a plane headed to Quilt Market. So I'm gonna kind of go over all this exciting stuff we have, and then at the end of the video, I'm starting a stitch along. I cannot wait to tell you about it. So let me kind of just get you caught up on what I've been doing and what we're doing at the Fat Quarter Shop. So we've been doing Maynia. So we are halfway there almost. And I've been really trying to get at least an hour in a day. So I'm gonna kind of show you the summary of everything I've done the last week. So on Wednesday, May 8th, I did the November Cottage of the Month by Country Cottage Needleworks. And so I just got the top done. The top banner, or I guess it could be the bottom, whichever. So that's how much I got done that day. And I'm keeping them in my bag just to keep myself organized. My bag has the date and everything on it, so I like to keep it all together so that I can say somewhat organized. And they're kind of like a grab and go is what I consider them, grab and go kits. So if I'm going to a baseball game, I just grab it and go. And then all I do is, this is my little bag that I keep separate, and it has all my stuff in it that I need. So I've got my kit in a bag and my supplies in a bag. And maybe I can show you my supplies at the end, because I did get caught at a baseball game with no needle and I about freaked out. Okay, the second day was Thursday, May 9th. And this is December Cottage of the Month by Country Cottage Needleworks. And this one is looking beautiful. I sometimes get a little bit anxious working with red, but it's looking great. And I'm super pumped that I have all of the cottages of the month at least started. I've got 3 totally done, but my goal is for sure these will be done by the end of 2019, no doubt. There's no way they can't be. My next one was Friday, May 10th. Also Country Cottage Needleworks. Maybe you see a theme here. And I got a lot done. I was able to stitch all of these words at a baseball game. So during my Maynia video, I did the top 2, and then I did the words at baseball, and so all I have left is the bottom half. So I'm thinking I can get this one done by June 30th. So I have goals on all of these, hoping I can stick with it. I think I will. There's a couple in here that I might not finish, but we'll talk about that. So Heart and Home by Needle Bling Design. This is where I totally stepped out of the box. And this is Needle Bling Designs, and this is whitewashed Aida, 14 count. It also comes in linen, in 28 count linen, and I am using fancy floss. And so I am using hickory sticks and ribbon red. I even changed a little bit what she had going in the pattern because I wanted the red to be a little bit of a true red instead of a burgundy. I have the wood planks going horizontal like shiplap. And my goal on this is to kind of do outlines of all the letters and then just fill it in so that I can have all things outlined, and then when I go to baseball, I just fill it in. I'm trying to come up with ways to just really be faster. And I'm doing this one, I was doing it stitching in hand, and I was using John James Petite needles, and I was going pretty fast. We're going to talk a little bit more about stitching with fancy floss at the end and kind of some tips that I've come up with. They're probably not groundbreaking, and they're probably not like perfect. They're just kind of what I came up with. And then after that, Easter! So the funny thing is, when I started this, which was Sunday, May 12th, Kevin came in the closet and was like, "You're a little late." I was like, "Yeah, I know. You don't need to tell me." There we go. Sorry. All my things came out. They escaped. Okay. There's a lot on this one. So this is Tiny Modernist, and I really like her designs. And this is Happy Easter. And I think she had stitched this on 16 count, and I just used 14 count because I love 14 count Aida, and I'm good with that. I like the white. I think it'll really pop. I'm thinking this could probably go upstairs. All my kids' rooms are upstairs, and I could put it in one of the rooms or on a table outside the rooms. I think they'll really like it. And so all I really have is some flowers to go around. So this one, I'm hoping to be done by the end of the year. I'll probably put this one off a little bit just because it's Easter and I don't really need it until next Easter. But I really like it. I like the colors. I think it came out really nice. And white's really fun to stitch on because you can see it really well. Okay, so then I also started Madame Chantilly, and she has 4 seasons, and this one is, let's see, which one is this that I did? I did spring. So, they all have a flower, a house, and a little animal. So this one has daffodils and a sheep, and I really like the colors of this one. On this one, what I did do though is I bought the DMC colors listed on the bottom of the pattern right here, and I really should have opened it because there's 2 patterns here. There's the ABC and the house, and I bought some colors that are used in this bird up here, but you don't need it down here. So I bought some extra thread that I really didn't need. So that's just a lesson for me because I've never done her patterns before. This one is on Graceful Gray, which I am really liking, and it's very different than my other stuff. So if I put this up with some other Country Cottage spring or summer, it'll just kind of stand out and stand alone. So I really like that. So I'm having so much fun with Maynia. I really didn't think I was gonna have fun. I thought I was gonna be totally stressed out. There's a couple of videos where I do look super tired, but I mean, that's just like life. Like we all have our ups and downs, and I get tired just like all of you. Sometimes y'all think I'm like, I don't know, some superwoman, and I'm really not. I'm just like all of you. We have some other stuff to show you, and then I want to start my new stitch along. So we have gotten in some really cool fabric flare fabrics. And so kind of what we're doing is we're doing Aida and a little bit of linen. Nothing fancy, nothing super expensive. I'm not getting into hand-dyed fabrics and things like that because I think those are great for local needlework shops. You can really see it. They're really expensive. I'm not sure that we want to put our money there yet. But we have this, and it's kind of screen printed. So this is all 14 count Aida, and this is hazy gray, and it has the mottled look. It's really pretty, and these are all fat quarter. They come pre-packaged. And if I was gonna step out of the box, which I will eventually, this is something I would try. This one I love, it's Cafe au Lait. I love this one. It's a little bit dark for my house, but I love it. So if I did this one, I'd probably do it on something small just to try it out. And then, oh my gosh, this would have been perfect for Easter. So this would have been perfect if I would have had it. It's called White Silver Sparkles, and oh my gosh, my Easter would have looked so much better on this. So I think I'm regretting that a little bit, but I didn't know about this fabric, so there we go. But this is really nice. It's got a little sparkle. Everybody needs a little sparkle in their life. This one is parchment, and this one has more of like a stained coffee look kind of thing going on. This is Blue Classic Snowflakes, and so this is super cute. I don't think you could do like a huge project in this, but this would be really cute if you could like fussy stitch stuff around it. Super cute. Sky Sea Sand. So this one is kind of like a little bit of a blue, but it's got a tint of gray in it, which kind of tones the aqua down. And then I got paw prints because I know we have a lot of dog lovers. There's also a cat print one, so if y'all are interested in that, let me know. And this one is called Magical Clouds. And so this is just a company that we found at Needlework Market, and I like a lot of their things, and so we're just gonna kind of see how different things do. So that's one new thing, super excited. I wish I had some of those before I started Maynia, but I didn't. We also have had a lot of requests for some of our Country Cottage Needleworks. You know, we have like some of their older sets, Santa's Village, Frosty Forest, Cottages of the Month. And so their series have ended, meaning all of the patterns are available now, so we've put them into sets. And you get a slight discount by buying them this way, but I had a ton of emails on this, so we just did this for you guys for convenience. So they're ready to go, and then like at the end of Glitter House, when all of those come out, we'll do a Glitter House series, but they're not all out yet. I wanted to remind you guys that Priscilla and Chelsea are doing a stitch along called Land That I Love. It is hashtag PC Land That I Love, and she has her own thread pack, and we have more in stock now. We had temporarily sold out, but we have them back in stock. And when we sell out, it's just because they are hand dyed. So when we order in a big batch, and so she has to dye them. And then I'm super excited. We have now the Fancy Floss Favorites, which is hand-picked by Priscilla and Chelsea, and we list all of the colors on the back. And so these are just their favorites. So if you watch their channel, The Real Housewives of Cross Stitch, and you're inspired by them, you know, this would be kind of a place to start if you aren't a connoisseur of fancy floss, which I'm not. We also have, now we have all of the colors of Classic Colorworks in stock. This was recommended by Priscilla and Chelsea. These are considered fancy floss. They are hand-dyed threads. We'll talk more about them as I start my stitch along at the very end, but these are hand-dyed threads. Something that's very new to me, I'm gonna be totally honest. So we'll talk about them. We also have all of the colors in DMC now. So if you need DMC, we have all the colors at Fat Quarter Shop. Oops, and this fell out of Easter. We also have all of Weeks Dye Works. And so this is another company that has been around a long time, and this is how their floss comes packaged. And so when you're looking at patterns, if I was just somebody that was starting in fancy floss, I would just follow a pattern, figure out, kind of get your feet wet, make sure you like it before you invest in it. And I would just, if you find a pattern you love, buy that thread, see if you like it before you just dig in, because some people love it. We also have our Crusted Journal. I'm super excited. I have been keeping track of everything I'm stitching, and it has been very helpful because if I change something, like on a couple of them, I added an extra stitch on the top, I'm gonna wanna add that extra stitch on the bottom. So it kind of keeps it all organized here without having to put a piece of paper in there. And I'm keeping this with my supplies. I kind of was a little bit disorganized at the beginning. So what I figured out is I just need my book, my pen. I have my little needle book that Lori Holt made me. My scissors, I'm not gonna, I mean, you don't need 3 pair, but somehow I have 3 pair in my bag. And then, oh no, I have 4. Oh my goodness, I have 4 pair. Because I'm never going to be short a scissor. And then I have my lights, my Vivalux lights that I stitch with on my glasses. And then I have some extra Bowen and extra John James needles just in case I run out, and I have my needle threader. So I keep this all together, and I just make sure nothing leaves here. Now, I don't need 4 scissors. I don't know. I'm just have a lot of scissors. But so what I do is just grab the bag I need and this, put it in my new Lori Holt bag. I don't know why I don't have that here, but I left it downstairs, but I just throw it in and go. We also have, this has been super popular, our Chock-full series. This is by Priscilla Blaine in collaboration with Kathy from Hands On Design, and it will start in June, and there will be 7 different kits that come out every other month. In those kits, you will get the Chalkboard Black by Wichelt Imports, 14 count, and you will get the Fancy Floss. So these are the fancy flosses that were picked by Priscilla and Kathy for the first chart, just so you can see the colors. And you will be getting a 10 skein of the chalk. And so this is the first one that's going to come out in June, and we are filling up fast on the spots. We still have plenty, but there is going to be a point where we cut the club off. But it is doing really good, and we're super happy for Priscilla. We're super proud for Priscilla. We're super happy to support Priscilla. She's living her dream. We also got something that I thought was cute, so I thought I would show you it. Shannon Christine Designs. She came out with this pumpkin farm, so I'm going to show you each separate. They're super cute. So there's 3 designs. And then if you wanted to stitch them together on the back of each chart, she shows you, and you just connect them. And she gives you DMC colors. And they are 55 by 58 stitches, and she's using 14 count. It looks like lamb's wool would look perfect. She's not listing the exact fabric she used, but I think it's awesome. And of course, this is my favorite, the one with the truck. I would probably make my truck red, but super cute. I love Halloween stuff or harvest things and Christmas things. We also got some needle nannies and some magnets. So these are by Little House Designs. This is called Vintage Farm Set, and there's 3 magnets. Super cute. And I have a magnet board over here, and you could just pop it on a magnet board and it'll hold your pattern. So I will show you my magnet board in a second. Show you how I use it. Let's see. So if I was stitching, I actually have one on here already. But you can just put it down. I don't want to show the design, but it kind of helps hold everything in place. And so if you like Little House Needleworks, these are cute little magnets. They work on your, I think this is a Loran is the brand of the magnet board, so that's something cute. We also have some needle nannies, which means you put them on your fabric. I should just leave this one because I seem to love it so much and let everything fall out. So it comes with a magnet on the back and the top, and you snap it on. And what you can do is when you're stitching, sorry, I'm just like losing everything, you throw your needle on it. You just put your needle on it, and so when you're changing thread or something, it keeps it all together. So we have a bunch of new ones. We got some of the glitter houses. I'll show you what we have. Let's see, we have some glitter houses. These are obviously Country Cottage Needleworks. I'll fix that later. Glitter houses, more glitter houses, more glitter houses. So if you're making a glitter house, sometimes people like to match their little, and they're just fun to have. And then this is going to be a really cool one coming out called My Country Sweet Land of Liberty. It's by Country Cottage Needleworks. We have the pattern on order, and I know that's going to be super popular. So we've got that. We've got more little house glitter houses. I love these. They're like little tchotchkes that I feel like you have to have. So we have all the glitter houses. This is like so fun. Look, they just stick up. Play magnet gun. See what sticks together. Okay. And oh my gosh, I got this back from the framer. So this is Lori Holt's Quilter's Cottage. Came back from the framer. I have a sticker to put on the back that I'm going to put on the back that has the date, my name, what year I made it. But this is just the frame that we got at Amazon. There will be a link below. It is just a frame that Lori picked out, and I just take it to my framer. It saves money because you don't have to pay for the frame. I just pay for the museum glass and for them to mount it because I just don't enjoy that part. And now I'm super excited to announce that we are having a stitch along hosted by Fat Quarter Shop, and our hashtag is going to be FQS Quaker Flag. It is going to be the new Stitcher Hood Quaker Flag pattern. We picked 3 fancy flosses that are going to come in the kit that are Classic Colorworks, and we are putting it with our 14 count Vintage Country Mocha. And so if you would like to join us in the stitch along, We have everything available as a kit, or if you want to use your own fabric, maybe you already have fabric, maybe you already have floss, maybe you don't want to use the floss we have. You can stitch along with us, you can make your own, and it, again, is FQS Quaker flag. I cannot wait to see what you guys make, and we are going to take some questions now before I start stitching on this to give you my little hints, and I don't even know if they're going to be helpful to you, but we'll see. So we'll see what questions we have so far from our Facebook.
Okay. Should one use beeswax when cross stitching?
You can. That's totally a personal preference. I don't. I just feel like it's like an extra thing to put in my bag. I'll probably lose it. So I don't, but it's something that you could definitely try. See if you like it, try it once. I've never tried it.
Should you frame cross stitch behind glass?
That is totally personal preference. I do because my kids have sticky fingers and they like to touch stuff, and it's just a personal preference, but a lot of people don't. Totally up to you. Totally personal preference.
Can you put the Q-snaps over already cross-stitched areas?
You can, I do not. I will just use a bigger Q-snap or move the Q-snap. If I have something and I want to move the Q-snap down, I can just not put the Q-snap on the very top and just kind of stitch it up real quick.
And Judy Fox-Gibbon says, when Priscilla finishes her work and puts her piece on the board, does she put hot glue on the needlework fabric to attach it to the background fabric? I'm confused. Wouldn't the glue damage the needlework fabric?
So she puts it on the back. It's a part you can't see. We have an upcoming video to show you how you do it. And again, it's all personal preference. I mean, if it doesn't bother her and she stitched it and it's her piece, but yeah, I mean, it's not going to come off. But she puts it on the part that doesn't have the stitches. But we will have a video coming up on how she does it. And again, it's what she does. It's what works for her.
Lisa Haybean says, what is fancy floss? Who makes it?
So fancy floss is a term that Priscilla and Chelsea came up with. It means hand-dyed floss. There's lots of different brands. So Classic Colorworks is made by Diane from Little House Needleworks. And Weeks Dye Works is another brand. And there's another brand called Gentle Arts. It just means that they take floss and they dye it, and they have different recipes, and they come up with the colors, they come up with the names, and it just adds variegation and variety to your project.
Christine Greenbrewer says, when will Priscilla's floss pack for Land That I Love be back in stock?
It's back in stock now until it sells out again. And we just have a ton of it on order, and so what Diane does is she just sends us small batches at a time, and as each batch sells out, but we're just going to keep that in stock probably at least 12 months.
Raina Sim says, I would like to see if you can do the stitching method on 14 count Aida in a Q-snap. If you could, please, thank you.
So I have done that. I can do it again later, but I can do the sewing method today. I'm going to show a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to do that today, but I have done that in previous videos, and I can do that again in the future. Maybe not exactly today.
Krister Lancaster Longer says, how do you keep the back of your work as neat as the front? If you have already answered this, I would love the info on which Frosty that was.
Okay. So this is the back of Happy Easter. I just make sure as I'm going on the back that I don't get knots. If I do get knots, I'll pull it out, and as I finish, I go under 4 to 5 stitches with my needle and pull it like pretty taut and then cut. And I cut with those yellow Omni Grid scissors that are super sharp, and I cut right at the very edge so that it stays neat. Again, a lot of people, if you read boards and stuff, people are like, who cares? It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to do. If you want your back to be messy, do your back messy. I don't care. I don't care what you do. But that's just me, and I'm OCD, so there you go.
Cindy Bat says, how does everyone keep track of the number of stitches in a row or column when doing long rows? For example, I'm doing Land That I Love, which has boxes around various sections of the design, just trying to find the easiest way to keep track without losing count.
So what I do is I just count twice from my pattern, and then I stitch it, and then I count it twice, I go back, I just triple check, and I go slow. And when I'm stitching, I do tend to stitch with headphones on, where I'm listening to something, because my kids like to play games and stuff. Like, they didn't really play games, they just watch gamers. So I'll just be in the room with them and I'll have my headphones on so I don't have to listen to their hot mess of NBA and Shaq and whoever. I don't even know what they're doing. I mean, I'm obviously in the room with them, but I just triple check my work before I keep going, because I have made mistakes before and will continue to make mistakes. But it's just one of those things that you just kind of get used to.
From Jane Bromley, what designers have patterns in color? I know they usually cost more, but I find them easier to follow.
So the It's So Emma Stitchery that we published for Lori Holt is in color. The Tiny Modernist is in color. Those are the only two that I can think of right now. Oh, and if you click into a pattern on our website, it will tell you if you go all the way to the very bottom, it'll tell you if it's in color.
From Judith Pine, I have finished the Be Thankful cross stitch, but I don't know how to mount it in a frame. Is there a previous video on it?
There is, and we can just link that below. We'll look it up and put a link and say something like framing tips. It was like 2 videos ago.
Donna Winkler says, the Stitch Maynia pattern, Madame Chantilly Spring, what size of Q-snap did you use and what size is the finish size? Thanks.
Okay, so on this one, I would probably use an 11 by 11. They're all about the same size. Because she's a French pattern, it's a little bit different. She doesn't really give a lot of detail in hers, to be honest. I don't even think she lists it, so let me look. Yeah, she doesn't list it. Okay, so the house one that I'm doing is about 62 by 105, and so on that you'll just have to divide out your fabric. So if you're doing 14 count, you would take 62 divided by 14 and 105 divided by 14, and that would tell you the size. And we can make sure that all of that is listed on our website. But if she doesn't exactly say like 14 count or 16 count, so we don't put that size on our website just because she doesn't list it. And we don't want to assume what we never want to assume what a designer is doing or thinking, because we don't want to insult them. But all you have to do is take that and divide it by the count that you're using. I would say this is probably 7 inches wide, maybe. I mean, that's just a complete guess. Because when I'm stitching, I kind of just stitch whatever and then figure out framing later. Like, if it'll fit in a frame at Hobby Lobby, I will get it there, or Michael's. If it won't, I'll get it custom framed, or I'll do it, send it to Priscilla. I'm not about to attempt to do what Priscilla does.
From Debbie Huber, are charts and patterns the same thing?
Yes.
From Chris Kittle-Blum, what made you start selling cross-stitch supplies?
I just love cross stitch. I just started it. I thought it'd be fun. I kind of got back into it. I thought it was very trending. I mean, it's on Etsy. It's everywhere. We're just looking for new things to grow our business, just like everybody else is. And I enjoy doing it. It gives me a creative outlet. And if I can have fun doing it, I figure other people can. And I always want to inspire people. And I've done so much quilting over the years. I feel like I've taught everybody everything I know. I mean, not really, but you know, like just to freshen things up, and people just really like it.
From Pam Zoratsky, I'm just a beginner doing Quilter's Cottage. I messed up on my letter X, saw it after the letter was done. How do you go about taking it out?
So to take out stitches, what I do is I take very sharp scissors, my Omni Grid, and I clip it either from the front or the back. And when I'm clipping it, I put my blade in the stitch. Assume this is the scissors. I put this in the stitch, pull up, make sure I don't have fabric down here, and clip. And then I hand pull out each stitch. And as I'm pulling, I'll shorten the thread, and I'll just pull out as much as I need. I will use a Scotch tape, and I will use it, stick it on the front, stick it on the back, make sure all those loose threads are up. I'll take my needle, kind of smooth it out on the fabric, kind of get it where you can't tell where your stitches were, and then restart.
From Elizabeth Gregory Chronister, for the week's dye, do you have a conversion chart from DMC to week's dye thread? So
I don't think we do. Basically, I think think a lot of the companies don't like to have one because they don't want to misrepresent the colors because they're coming up with their own colors. So, I mean, there's stuff you can find out there, but it's not produced exactly by Weeks Dye Works or exactly by Classic Color Works. So, for example, if you saw online a chart that converted these, they're not the same because this is its own product. So you can find things out there that maybe a blogger or designer has put out. It's not endorsed by Weeks or it's not endorsed by Classic Color Works because they're trying to do their own thing. I'm sure if you Google it, you can find something similar, but of course, it's not the same. If it was the same, you would just buy DMC. So that's kind of why. I hope that makes sense. They're just, they're selling their own independent product that they're trying to do their own thing. They're trying to create their own colors so that you want to have theirs because they're unique enough.
From Carolyn Ponce, what is the best way to prep a project using hand-dyed Aida and thread for framing? I'm used to both plain cloth and DMC and usually hand wash it in a little Dawn, but the hand-dyed fabric and thread both say not to wash it.
I don't pre-wash anything before I start, and I don't wash when I'm done. I keep my hands clean as I go. I keep everything in a plastic bag so that things don't get dirty. My dog doesn't step on it. My kids don't touch it. And if my kids want to look at it, they'll totally get nosy and look at it, but they don't open it. So I just keep it clean as I go. I do not wash. And if you use hand-dyed floss, you do not want to wash at the end. It could bleed, and it may bleed, and it will ruin all those hours of work. And that's the beauty of the hand-dyed is the difference. But even if it's DMC, I don't wash it.
From Laura Latino, how can you make the fabric sit straight in a Q-snap? Mine always gets distorted. I only stitch on linen. Also, how much space do you leave around in order to mount the fabric in Q-snaps?
I leave about 3 inches around, and I will kind of go over that when I start my sew along in a little bit.
Oh, and how do you make the that's what you're gonna, got it. Samantha Fedorsky says, I am so excited to see your Home is Where the Heart Is piece that you did with the fancy floss. How did you like it? Was it as challenging as you thought it would be? Also, can you tell me the colors you are using in the Never Ending Cycle? I want to include the series in my Maynia, but I want to do the same colors you are using because it's beautiful.
So, on the Never Ending Cycle, I will post that when I post the video. If you email me at kimberly@backquartershop.com, we can write back and tell you those because I can look those up for you. And the first part of your question was what again? Sorry.
Excited to see your Home is Where the Heart Is.
So it really was not hard at all. And so when I start this new stitch along, I'm going to talk through all the things that I like and kind of my challenges with hand-dyed thread. So we're going to do that in like 5 minutes.
From Ziona Payne, what colors are in the Fancy Floss Favorites pack of 22 skeins? I would like to buy it. Don't know if I need all the colors. Is it a secret?
Licorice, well, we didn't put them online because they're like our pack and we wanted it to be exclusive to Fat Quarter Shop. Now that they're in stock, we will list it. They are licorice red, eggshell, bamboo, sticks and twigs, hickory sticks, ladybug, queen bee, rain shower, black coffee, pumpkin harvest, honeycomb, barn door, bean sprout, English ivy, old blue jeans, Eve's leaves, persimmon, jolly holly, stepping stones, Dublin Bay, Weeping Willow, and St. Bernard. And when you get a floss pack from us, we're going to list the colors. We're going to have our website, and we also list Priscilla's blog and her YouTube channel so that if you need to find Priscilla, it's right there.
From Cindy Krull, how do you know what your finished size will be when you use a different size Aida than what the pattern says?
You take the number of stitches and divide it by your count. So if your piece is 60 by 40, you take 60 divided by 14 and 40 divided by 14, and whatever that is should be your finished size.
And also from Cindy, can you stitch in hand with Aida cloth or is it too stiff?
You can. It's easier to stitch in hand with Aida than linen, I think. But I mean, I don't use linen. I keep saying I'm not going to use it. I really don't think I'm definitely converted over to some hand-dyed floss, but I don't think I'll ever convert to linen. We'll see.
From April Jackson, since you are pro travelers, can you share any tips for taking your stitch projects on a plane?
So when I go on a plane, I take my little, I have a bag from Draper James that's like a big bag, and that holds my purse and my little Eat, Sleep, Stitch backpack from Lori. And what I dump in there is one of these and my little, this. And they don't ever take my scissors away. So I know there's a rule, but like tomorrow when I go, I'll probably take the other 3 out because like I don't need 4. But I really didn't plant this. Like this literally is just like, I just literally brought this from upstairs, from downstairs where my office is. Oh, I actually have 5. Oh my God. I have 5. This is so bad. So I will condense this when I get on the plane tomorrow to 1. I don't know where I'm gonna put these. But I always have to have scissors. Like you don't ever want to go anywhere without scissors. They've never taken them away. They're under, I don't know what the requirement is. I don't know. But yeah, I do always have it in a plastic bag within the, and then my backpack just has these 2 things in it. And then my big blue bag has my purse, my headphones. So when I get on the plane, I'm like, okay, I know exactly where my headphones are. I know exactly where my boarding pass is. And then I just pull my backpack out and then all the other crap can just stay under the seat. And I'm like always that lady that they always have to say, ma'am, you need to put yourself under the seat. And I'm just like, okay, yes. And then I like kick it and then I pull it back out. Always. Yes.
From Mary Towns, can the variegated floss be used on any cross stitch pattern? What are the advantages, disadvantages?
So it can be used on any, the advantages are it gives it a variegated look, and some people like it, some people don't. It's just a way to make yours original, and one thing that I do like about it, it's kind of like what Lori Holt taught me years ago, be the boss of your own quilt. You never want to make something and not change one little thing about it, because then it looks just like Susie Q's or whoever's. So, you know, if you change it just a little bit, if you're using variegated floss, your variegation and how you lay your variegation is going to make yours different. It's just a way to make it different. It adds a little bit of excitement to your project, gives it a little bit of variety. So, so I think that's all for questions. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for watching, and let's get into our sew along or stitch along. Okay, so today I'm starting our stitch along. It is FQS Quaker Flag. The designer is the Stitcher Hood, and we are changing it up a little bit. We're packaging our kit with 14 count Vintage Country Mocha by Zweigart, but of course, if you have your own fabric at home, you can use that. We selected Ribbon Red, Toasted Marshmallow, and Wavy Navy. And this fabric has 2 sides, one that's mottled and one that is lighter and plain. And I think this is gonna look beautiful on the mottled side. So that's personal preference. I have an 11 by 11 inch Q-snap. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in, and then I'm gonna talk through kind of what we're gonna do today. And then as I'm stitching, I'm gonna talk about the things that have worked for me and not worked for me. And of course, I have this all set up in my cross-stitch journal. And so the pattern says it's 59 by 95. It doesn't tell you the finished size. So I took 59 divided by 14 to get 4.25 and 95 divided by 14 to get 6.75. So this will come out much smaller than this piece of fabric, and I will trim that down later today. I just wanted to go ahead and get started, and I have zigzagged the edge of my fabric so it will not fray. So I'm just gonna start in the top left because I think that's the easiest. So I'm gonna kind of just put it around my Q-snap gently, kind of pull it a little taut. I do one side at a time, so I'll do the right and the left, and then I will, oops. And then I pull it taut. Now, when you get a new Q-snap, hold on, let me do that again. When you get a new Q-snap, it might not move as easily as this, but I've been using this for a long time. It kind of loosens up over time, and then you do the other 2 sides, and you find your pieces. I usually stitch with a pillow in my lap, and so I'm sitting Indian style, this just adds, and then I put a pillow. So I've got it nice and taut. I'm gonna start at the top left, which is here. I'm just guessing that's about 2 or 3 inches, and I'm starting with the Wavy Navy. So I'm gonna go ahead when I'm using this, and I'm gonna use a ring to put these together. But you pull your thread off. It's already pre-cut, and I like the length that it is. So I really like the length that worked for me at home. Now I'm going to put the floss that I'm not using back on just to keep it all neat. And you just put it back on. And these are just my tips. You know, at home you can do whatever works for you. I'm just showing you what works for me, but you can do it however you want. So here, there's variegation in this. So you want to keep your threads together. I'm just going to pull 2 out. And I'm going to keep them together. I'm going to set this aside. And then you can see it's kind of wrinkly. You just stretch it out. Now what you're supposed to do, I'm going to show you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take it one step further, pull it apart, and put it back together. So I'm going to do that for the purist out there. And then you can try this at home whichever way you would like. Now when you put it back together, you got to put it back the way it came so that your variegation stays the same. And it is less wavy. So that's totally up to you. You can do it however you want. I'm usually lazy and don't pull that last part apart. Now today I'm using John James 26. They're petites, they're shorter, and I like them, and I'll show you why. They do break and they do bend a lot, so I go through them more than when I use a bow and needle. And it's probably because I'm a little bit rough. So I think this might be one that I've bent already, but that's okay. So when you start, you can start wherever you want. I am going to do this part, and I'm going to talk you through kind of what I'm going to do, and then this will be the part that you do this week. And we're just going to be stitching along. I'm going to do blue this week, red next week, and white the week after. And I'm just going to be giving you my tips. But when you stitch, you can stitch as slow as you want or as fast as you want. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stitch the box. I'm going to stitch the very outside row here. And when you stitch with fancy floss or hand-dyed floss, you want to do 1X at a time. If you want to go across and then come back, you can do that. It's not going to be as even, and it's going to show less variegation, and that's more, it's called the Monet look if you do that. So I'm going to show you the traditional way. And I'm using Aida 14 count again. And you're just going to come up and over. You're going to do 1X at a time. And you cannot do the loop method or the variegation. You can do the loop method if you want, but that is not the traditional way to do it. So today what I'm showing you is the traditional way to use hand-dyed floss. You can, again, do whatever you want at home. So I have secured that down. I'm going to go back and I'm going to finish my X. When I finish my X, I use the railroading technique where I put my needle between the threads and go back in. Pull it down. And you're going to start your next X. I'm going to turn it back over because I want to make sure I'm covering this. Now, a lot of you ask how I keep my backs neat. This is part of how I keep it neat, is I watch the back until I have covered that complete tail. So I'm going to go back. One of the things that I like about fancy floss is this long length because I have to change floss less. You're going to railroad right between those stitches and go in. And I'm kind of holding in the back, kind of taut, before I make my next stitch. So that's how I keep my stitches neat. Come back. So I'm doing 1X at a time, covering the back, railroading. And you can get in a groove doing this and do the sewing method, and I'll kind of show you that in a little bit after I get kind of going. I want this to be a little bit more taut, so. But that is how I keep my back neat, is by, so one of the things I like about the Fancy Floss is it's already cut, it's a long strand, it's a really nice feel. It does, since it's longer than what I'm used to, it gets knotted a tiny bit, but you just gently pull and those knots come out. So you save time because you have to cut your floss less. And I've liked working with it. And what I did is I pulled part of my little tail came to the front. So I'm gonna cut this now. I use really sharp scissors. I use Omni-Grid. These are the only scissors I pretty much use for anything. And I just cut right to the edge. And just keep going. And so now that I've covered up, I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of the stitching method, but what I'm finding is my Q-snap is too loose, so I'm gonna reposition it. And I can actually do this without the Q-snap, so I'll show you a little bit without the Q-snap. So this is the sewing method where you stay. I'm not a pro at this, but this is how you do the sewing method. I keep my hands like this. You just go down and up. You keep your needle all in the same area. Now when I do this X, I have to pull to the back, which is not really the sewing method. So I'm kind of doing an impromptu. And I just keep my hands really taut, and it's going to give you the same exact look as the Q-snap. So it depends where I'm at, if I'm going to use the Q-snap or not. If I'm at a baseball game or somewhere, I'm going to definitely use the Q-snap. If I'm at home and I've got a pillow in my lap, I don't have to use the Q-snap. So I just kind of play it by ear. But doing the railroading right here really keeps everything nice and even. And this is probably about as fast as I can stitch. And I've already counted how many squares I need to go over, so I'm going to go over and I'll talk a little bit, and then we can go down and then maybe fast forward a little bit. I haven't worked with Fancy Floss enough to give too many tips, but it's really just like stitching with DMC, except that you do one stitch at a time. The advantage of doing one stitch at a time is if you make a mistake and you miss a hole, you're going to see it right then rather than later on when you're coming back. Like if you, so here I have a little knot and you just gently pull it away. Well, yep. And so we're stitching with Wavy Navy by Classic Colorworks, is this color. And one of the things that I do try to do is I'm going to outline, and then I'm going to show you my little tip with the white, and then show you how to save a little bit of time. So I think I've covered everything that I can think of with Fancy Floss. Now I'm not a pro at it. But it's really pretty. I like the blue that we picked. It's very Americana. We wanted it to be similar to the flag. If you wanted to use DMC, the colors she lists in the pattern are 826, 3831, and white. And we sell everything as a kit and separate. Okay, so right here, you can see that right here, I didn't meet my holes. So at one point I went in one hole and I went in another, and there's a gap there. So I'm going to undo it. And so that's one thing that I like about doing one stitch at a time, is you catch that before you come back around. Because sometimes I'll have to pull a whole row out because I did that wrong. So I'm going to railroad. Okay, so I have counted how many I need to go over already on the pattern. I don't want to show the pattern because that's copyright infringement and you need to buy the pattern. But I'm gonna, when I get to where I think it is, I'm gonna just count and see how many more I need. But I'm just gonna stitch until I think I'm there. And the petite needles I really like because they're short. And because they're short, you can, like as you're doing this, watch. They're short, so it's easy to get that in, whereas if you had a long needle, it would be harder. But again, I'm only doing half the stitching. I'm only doing half of the sewing method because I am going to the back here. But it's just kind of what I do. I just make stuff up as I go. So I'm going to fast forward until I get to the very end of my row. Okay, so here I'm noticing that my thread is knotting a lot. So I'm going to put my needle in the middle of the thread and just pull it apart. And then rethread it, and that will help get the knots out. And then I'm going to go ahead and start counting to see if I'm close to So I just kind of count with my needle. Some people have asked how I count, so I just kind of count slowly in my head. Okay, so I'm going to keep going until I'm to where I need to be, and then I'm going to recount again, and then we're going to go down. Okay, so I think I'm at my quantity. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to triple check my pattern without showing you the pattern, but I'm going to recount my stitches on my pattern and my fabric and see if it's time to go down. Okay, so I'm going to count again across just to make sure I've got the right number, so I'm triple checking my work. Now I'm going to go down. And I've already counted how many I need to go down, so we're just going to go down, and I'm going to show you how I travel down, and then we'll fast forward until the next. And this one, since I'm going down, I can stay. Now I am going to railroad on this top stitch. You can do the sewing method all the way because just the direction you're going. So now we're going to go to the left, and it's looking really flat. So as long as you have a flat surface, so I'm just going to keep going, travel to the left a little bit, obviously, and then we're just going to fast forward all the way until I get to the top, and then I'm going to talk you through the next steps and what to do next. So I'm just going to keep stitching. And again, that top stitch, I just do like normal, but this, when I make this top, the bottom stitch is normal. When I do this top stitch, I am railroading every time. Is that rain out there?
I don't think it is. I don't know what that sound is.
So I put my leftover floss just back on the ring, just like the rest, and I'm gonna get a little ring and ring these together. So I've got them together, and then I have stitched the ring, and then I have some leftover. I don't want to cut this off, so I'm just gonna weave this into the edge. Well, actually, no, I'm gonna put this on a Q-snap first. And the reason I'm gonna put it on a Q-snap is I don't want it to get wrinkled when I put it in my plastic bag. So I'm gonna put this in a Q-snap, and you're gonna see as we do the stitch along that sometimes I'm gonna stitch in the Q-snap and sometimes I'm gonna stitch freehand. And the reason why is if I'm doing straight all the way across, I don't need the Q-snap. But if I'm doing flowers or stars or moving around a lot, I am gonna want the Q-snap. So I'm gonna leave this in the Q-snap so that it stays nice and non-wrinkled. Now what I'm gonna do is take my leftover thread, I'm not gonna cut it, and I'm just gonna put it kind of on the edge so that when I come back to it, it's all right there. I could just put a needle mender, but I just don't have one right here. And then all you need to do if you want to do the stitch along is get the pattern from us and the kit, or pattern or kit, or all you really need is the pattern, because you probably have floss and fabric, but if you don't, we have a kit available. And this is all you have to do for this week, and it's a very casual stitch along. We're just going to go as we go. And then what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to go ahead and put the stars in for, then I'm going to fill in with the blue after. So I'm going to do my white next if you want to get ahead, and then that's what we're going to work on next week is the white, and then filling in and kind of moving around with the fancy floss. And then that's going to be our stitch along for May. So I hope you join us. Thanks for watching. Definitely subscribe to Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube, and if you want to be notified when we have a new video, just click the little bell. And thank you so much for all of your support. We truly appreciate it.